The sun was just rising over the kingdom of Eldoria, casting golden light across the cobbled streets and the high castle walls. Birds chirped in the gardens, and merchants were beginning to arrange their colorful stalls in the market square. Yet, in the quiet forest beyond the city, a situation was unfolding that would soon change the lives of everyone in Eldoria. Princess Alina, the young daughter of King Aldrich, had gone on a journey with her royal guards to visit a neighboring village. She loved the small villages, the open fields, and the people who lived simple lives. But on this particular day, misfortune struck. As their group traveled through a narrow mountain path, a sudden landslide blocked the road. In the chaos, Alina and two guards were separated from the others. They tried to find their way back, but the terrain was steep and the path was dangerous. Alina's heart pounded as she climbed over loose stones and fallen branches. The guards tried to keep her safe, but one by one, they were forced to retreat when the rocks shifted. Eventually, she found herself alone on a small ledge above a deep ravine. Her guards had gone ahead thinking she could follow later. Now she realized she was trapped, surrounded by cliffs on one side and thick forest on the other. Fear began to creep in. At the same time, miles away in a small village near the forest, a young man named Cale was finishing his morning chores. Cale was not a noble or a knight. He worked as a carpenter, helping his father repair houses and furniture. He was strong, clever, and kind, but he had never imagined himself involved in anything heroic. Today, however, his life was about to change. Cale heard the faint sound of shouting while gathering firewood in the forest. At first he thought it was the wind or some animals, but then he heard a clear, terrified voice calling for help. Without thinking, he ran toward the sound, weaving through the tall trees and underbrush. Soon he saw the princess perched dangerously on the ledge, her white dress torn slightly from the rocks. "Please, someone help me!" Alina cried, her voice shaking with fear. Cale called back, "Don't worry. I'm coming. Stay where you are." The princess blinked in surprise. She had seen many brave knights and soldiers, but she never expected a simple carpenter from a village to appear as her rescuer. Yet Cale didn't hesitate. He scanned the area and noticed a narrow branch that stretched across the ledge. It was risky, but it might be the only way to help her down safely. "Hold on," Kyle said, tying a rope around his waist. "I'll get to you." Step by step, he moved across the unstable terrain. Alina watched in awe and hope. Cale reached her and spoke gently. "I need you to trust me. I'll get you out of here, but you must stay calm." Alina nodded, gripping the rock tightly. Fear still shook her, but she felt a strange sense of trust in this young man who had risked his life for her. Cale threw one end of the rope toward her and helped her tie it around her waist. "Now I'll guide you down slowly. Step carefully." With each careful step, they moved down the ledge. Alina's hands ached from holding the rope, and Cale's arms trembled from the strain, but neither of them gave up. Finally, after what felt like hours but was only minutes, they reached solid ground. Alina stumbled but was immediately supported by Kyle. She looked at him with gratitude. "You saved me," she whispered, her voice soft but filled with wonder. "How can I ever thank you?" Cale smiled, brushing a leaf from his shoulder. "Just stay safe. That's enough for me." They rested for a moment, catching their breath, and then Cale guided her through the forest to a safer path that led to the village. On the way, Alina noticed how humble and careful Cale was. He wasn't boastful or proud. He only cared about her safety. She had met many people in her life, but few had shown such courage and kindness. When they reached the village, Alina's royal guards had already sent messengers to alert the king. Villagers had gathered, curious about the princess and her unusual rescuer. The news spread quickly. A young carpenter had risked his life to save Princess Alina from danger. King Aldrich, who had received the first reports, arrived with his guards. His eyes widened as he saw his daughter safe and the young man standing before her. "Who are you?" he demanded, though his voice carried both concern and amazement. Cale bowed respectfully. "My name is Cale, Your Majesty. I only did what I could to help the princess." The king studied him closely. He noticed the courage in Cale's eyes and the calm determination that had allowed him to save his daughter. "You have done a great deed," the king said finally, his tone softening. "Not many would risk themselves like this." Alina stepped forward. "Father, he saved me. He guided me through the mountains when I had no hope. He is brave and kind." King Aldrich nodded slowly, feeling a mix of relief and pride. Yet in his mind, he also thought about the rules of the kingdom. the expectations for his daughter, and the future of the royal family. One thought began to form, though he did not say it aloud yet. Cale, meanwhile, felt a mix of relief and nervousness. He had never been in the presence of royalty, and he did not know what would happen next. But at that moment he only cared that the princess was safe. Alina, holding Cale's hand briefly, felt something she had never felt before: trust, admiration, and a quiet respect for a man who had no title, no wealth, but more courage than many she had met in the palace. That evening, as the sun set over Eldoria, the princess and Cale were taken to a royal guest room. The king instructed that Cale be treated with respect, and servants prepared a simple meal. Though tired, both the princess and the young carpenter felt a sense of calm. A bond had begun to form between them, one that neither fully understood yet. The first part of the story closed with a quiet moment. Cale looked out of the window at the distant mountains he had just crossed, thinking of the dangers he had faced. Alina sat nearby, reflecting on how someone so ordinary could be so extraordinary. Neither knew what the next days would bring, but one thing was certain: their lives had changed forever. The morning sun rose gently over Eldoria, painting the castle walls with soft golden light. Birds sang their usual songs, and the market square began to fill with merchants calling out their goods. Yet inside the castle, excitement and tension mixed in the air. Princess Alina had returned safely from a dangerous journey, thanks to a young man named Cale, and the story of her rescue had spread through the kingdom like wildfire. King Aldrich paced in his study, his hands clasped behind his back. He could not stop thinking about Cale, the brave young carpenter who had saved his daughter. Cale was not a knight or a noble. He had no title, no wealth, and no experience in royal matters. And yet, he had risked his life without hesitation. The king was torn. On one hand, he felt immense gratitude. On the other, he worried about the social gap between Cale and his daughter. Meanwhile, Cale sat quietly in a guest room prepared for him by the royal servants. He was amazed at the luxury around him: thick carpets, sparkling chandeliers, and walls adorned with paintings of past kings and queens. He felt out of place, unsure of how to act. Yet he could not hide the pride in his heart. He had saved a princess, and that was no small feat. Princess Alina entered the room carrying a cup of warm tea. Her eyes were still wide with admiration and relief. "Cale," she said softly, "you don't need to be afraid. You've done something more than anyone else could have. You saved me." Cale took the cup carefully, his hands trembling slightly. "It was nothing," he replied, though he knew it was far from nothing. "I only did what I thought was right." Alina smiled. There was something in Cale that she could not explain, a mix of courage, honesty, and humility. She felt drawn to him, but she also knew the difficulties that lay ahead. He was a commoner and she was a princess. Society would not easily accept their connection. Before they could speak further, a royal messenger arrived, bowing low. "Your Majesty, the court awaits your command. Nobles and advisors wish to see the young man who rescued the princess." The king sighed but nodded. "Very well. Bring him to the council hall." Cale's heart pounded. He had never been inside the council hall before. As the doors opened, he saw the king's advisors, nobles, and guards all looking at him. Whispers filled the room. "Who is this boy? How could he save the princess? Does he know the rules of the court?" Cale stood tall, trying to hide his nervousness. King Aldrich raised his hand, silencing the room. "This young man is Cale. He is the one who saved my daughter from grave danger. He risked his life to ensure her safety. I have called you here so that you may see the courage and honor that can come from someone of humble origins." Some nobles murmured in disbelief. "Your Majesty," one of them spoke cautiously, "he is not a knight. He is not trained in combat. How can we trust him with the princess?" Cale spoke up, his voice steady despite the tension. "I am not a knight or a noble, sir, but I will always act with honesty and courage. That is all I can promise." Princess Alina smiled faintly. "Father, he spoke the truth. He did not hesitate when I was in danger. He guided me through the mountains when no one else could. His actions speak louder than words." The king looked at Cale carefully. He could see the sincerity in his eyes. There was no arrogance, no false pride, only honesty and bravery.
"I am grateful for your courage, Cale," the king said softly.
"You have done more than anyone could have expected." Cale bowed deeply. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I only did what I thought was right." Despite the praise, the king could not ignore the complications. He knew that marrying a commoner could cause unrest among the nobles. Yet he also knew that Alina's safety and happiness were more important than politics. The king spent the rest of the day considering his options, pacing in the royal gardens while the princess and Kyle were taken to a guest chamber to rest. As evening fell, Alina and Kyle walked along the castle terrace. The sky was painted with shades of orange and purple, and the castle lights began to twinkle below. "Kyle," Alina said, her voice quiet, "I am grateful for what you did, but I'm worried about what my father will decide. The court may not accept us." Kyle looked at her and smiled gently. "I do not care about titles or wealth, princess. All I care about is keeping you safe and seeing you happy." Alina's heart softened. She had known many noblemen in her life, but few had shown such sincerity. Kale was different. His courage and kindness were real. Yet she also understood the reality of the situation. The king had responsibilities and the kingdom had rules. Their bond, however strong, would face tests ahead. The next morning, the king summoned Kale and Alina once more. "Kyle," he said, "your bravery has earned my respect. But there are matters to consider. The safety of the princess is one thing, but the unity of the kingdom is another. We must proceed carefully." Kale nodded. "I understand, your majesty. I only wish to serve the princess in any way I can." The king's eyes softened. "Your intentions are noble. That is clear. I must speak with my advisors and we will decide the next steps. For now, rest and recover from your journey." Kyle and Alina spent the day together, walking in the royal gardens and sharing stories. Alina told him about her childhood, her love for the mountains, and her dreams of helping her people. Kale spoke of his village, his work as a carpenter, and his family. They laughed together, shared small moments, and began to understand each other more deeply. By evening, a quiet bond had formed between them. Though the challenges of rank and duty loomed ahead, they found comfort in knowing they could trust one another. Both understood that their lives had changed forever, and that the events of the past days were only the beginning of a journey neither of them could yet fully imagine. As the castle lights flickered in the night, Princess Alina and Kale looked out at the kingdom below. A sense of hope mixed with uncertainty filled the air. They did not know what tomorrow would bring, but they knew that together they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. The rescue was over, but the real story, the story of courage, trust, and unexpected bonds, was just beginning. The morning sun shone brightly over the kingdom of Eldoria, but inside the grand halls of the castle, tension filled the air. Princess Alina sat quietly in her chamber, her thoughts restless. She had spent the past days recovering from the ordeal in the mountains, yet her mind was far from calm. Kale, the young man who had saved her life, was not a noble. He came from a simple village, and the court would never easily accept him. She wondered how her father, King Aldrich, would respond to the situation. Kale, meanwhile, had been summoned to the council hall once more. As he walked through the corridors, servants and guards whispered to one another, their eyes wide with curiosity. He had become the talk of the kingdom, the commoner hero who dared to save the princess. Some nobles looked at him with admiration, while others looked with suspicion. Kale tried to focus on his own thoughts, steadying his nerves for whatever was about to happen. The council hall was filled with advisors, nobles, and royal guards. At the head of the room sat King Aldrich, his expression serious. The room was silent as Kale stepped forward, bowing respectfully. "Kale," the king began, his voice deep and measured, "you have shown extraordinary courage in rescuing my daughter. Your actions have saved her life, and for that I am deeply grateful." Kale nodded. "Thank you, your majesty. I only did what anyone would do in my place." The king's eyes softened slightly, but his tone grew firm. "Kyle, bravery alone is not enough to navigate the world of royalty. You come from a simple life, and yet you now stand in the middle of my court. The matter I wish to discuss is serious. I want you to know that your actions have consequences." The room grew tense. Alina's heart beat faster. She had a feeling she knew what her father was about to say, and it made her nervous. "I have decided," King Aldrich continued, "that since you risked your life for my daughter, Kale, you must consider taking responsibility in the highest form possible. I am demanding that you marry Princess Alina." Gasps filled the hall. Nobles whispered in disbelief. Some shook their heads, muttering about breaking tradition. Others stared at Kale, wondering if he could possibly accept such an honor. Kale froze for a moment. The word seemed impossible. He had never imagined that his life, simple and quiet, could intersect so directly with the royal family. "Your Majesty," he began, his voice calm but uncertain, I do not know what to say. I am honored beyond words, but I am just a common man. I have no title, no wealth, no place in the court." King Aldrich's gaze was firm. "Kale, your worth is not measured by wealth or title. Your worth is measured by your courage, your honor, and your heart. You have proven all three. That is why I ask this of you. My daughter's life, her future, and the unity of the kingdom depend on decisions like this. Do you understand?" Alina's hands trembled slightly. She had always dreamed of love, of someone brave and kind. Yet the suddenness of her father's demand left her unsure. She wanted to speak, but Kale was the one who answered. "Your Majesty," Kale said, his voice steady, "I am deeply grateful for your trust. I care for Princess Alina, and I only wish for her safety and happiness. If you truly believe this is right, I will accept your decision." The king nodded solemnly. "Very well. But you must understand, Kale, that marriage in the royal family is more than love or gratitude. There are expectations, duties, and challenges. The court may not welcome you easily. You must prove yourself worthy not only to me, but to the people of Eldoria." "Yes, Your Majesty," Kale replied, bowing once more. Alina stepped forward, her voice clear. "Father Kale saved my life. I trust him, and I know he will always act with honor. But we must also consider the court, and I fear the judgment of the nobles and advisors." King Aldrich sighed. "You are wise, my daughter, but your safety and happiness are my priority. Kale, you will face challenges, yes, but know that courage and honesty can overcome many obstacles. Together you must learn, adapt, and prove your worth in the eyes of the kingdom." The nobles began to speak, offering advice, warnings, and opinions. Some were supportive, admiring Kale's bravery. Others were skeptical, arguing that a commoner could never fully understand the responsibilities of royalty. Kale listened carefully, taking in each word, yet never losing his composure. Over the next few days, Kale remained in the castle under the king's supervision. He learned about royal customs, protocols, and the duties that a prince consort, or future husband of a princess, would be expected to follow. The lessons were difficult. He struggled to remember formal greetings, proper etiquette, and the complex rules of court life. But he never complained. He was determined to earn the trust of the court, just as he had earned the trust of the princess. Alina, too, spent time with Kyle, teaching him gently about the kingdom and its people. She admired his willingness to learn and his humility. They walked in the gardens, discussed the history of Eldoria, and shared quiet moments of laughter. Slowly, they began to understand one another beyond the roles they had been assigned. Yet tension remained. Whispers in the hallways and cautious glances from nobles reminded them that their path would not be easy. Some people feared change, while others doubted Kale's ability to adapt to royal life. The young carpenter faced judgment from every direction, yet he never wavered in his commitment to the princess. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Kale and Alina sat on the balcony overlooking the city. The lights of Eldoria twinkled like stars on the ground. "Kale," Alina said softly, "I do not know how the court will respond. They may never fully accept you, but I trust you, and I hope we can face this together." Kale looked at her with quiet determination. "Princess, I have faced dangers in the mountains, I have faced storms and treacherous paths, but nothing is as important to me as keeping you safe and earning your trust. Together we can face anything, even the judgment of the court." Alina smiled, feeling a warmth in her heart she had never known before. The rescue had been over, but their real journey, the journey of trust, courage, and growing connection, was only beginning. As night fell over Eldoria, the king looked out from his study, thinking deeply. He knew the path he had chosen was unconventional, but he also knew that true courage and honor could not be measured by birth or wealth. Kale had proven himself, and now the king's challenge was to guide both the princess and her rescuer through the delicate balance of duty, expectation, and the beginnings of something extraordinary. The story of their bond, of the hero and the princess, had captured the hearts of many, yet the trials ahead would test them in ways neither had yet imagined. The rescue was only the first chapter. Now came the real test, navigating the royal court, facing skepticism, and building a connection that could survive the weight of expectation and tradition. The morning sun rose over Eldoria, shining on the high castle walls and the bustling streets below. Inside the castle, Cal began another day of learning and proving himself. Though he had saved Princess Alina's life, earning respect from the royal court was an entirely different challenge. Nobles and advisors were still skeptical of a commoner being so close to the princess, and some whispered doubts in the hallways. Cale knew that courage alone would not win their approval. He would have to show intelligence, honor, and patience. King Aldrich had arranged a series of lessons and tasks for Cale. First, he was instructed in court etiquette, how to bow correctly, speak politely to nobles, and navigate formal conversations. Cale listened carefully, practicing every word and movement. Sometimes he stumbled, mixing up titles or forgetting a protocol, but he never gave up. Alina often stayed nearby, guiding him gently. She encouraged him, reminding him that mistakes were part of learning. "You're doing fine, Kyle," Alina said one afternoon, as he fumbled with the correct way to address a visiting ambassador. "They only notice mistakes because they expect you to fail. But you have courage, and courage is far more important than perfect manners." Kyle smiled. "I will not give up, Princess. I want to earn their trust, even if it takes time." Beyond etiquette, Cale was asked to participate in activities that tested his leadership and judgment. One morning he was sent to oversee the preparation of a festival in the castle courtyard. Nobles sneered, assuming a carpenter could not handle organizing such an important event. Kyle, however, approached the task with careful thought. He worked alongside the servants, ensuring decorations were secure, food was ready, and performers knew their roles. He spoke with the festival organizers respectfully, listening to advice and making decisions calmly. When the day of the festival arrived, it was a success. Guests praised the decorations, the performances ran smoothly, and the villagers who had been invited were delighted. Even some of the skeptical nobles began to nod in quiet approval. Kyle's determination, patience, and intelligence were becoming evident. Meanwhile, Alina watched Kyle closely. She saw how he treated everyone, nobles and servants alike, with respect. She admired how he remained humble, even when praised. She began to feel a deeper admiration and trust for him, beyond the gratitude she had felt when he first saved her life. However, not all in the court were convinced. A group of advisors continued to challenge Kyle, questioning his abilities and suggesting that the princess needed someone of noble blood. Kyle listened to their criticism calmly, never raising his voice or showing anger. Instead, he demonstrated his skills through actions. When a dispute arose between two merchants invited to the festival, Kyle mediated with fairness, ensuring that both sides felt heard and satisfied. When a young page dropped a tray of food in the hall, Kale helped clean it up without scolding the child, showing patience and empathy. The princess began to realize that Kale's qualities were rare. Courage had brought him to her side, but it was his wisdom, humility, and kindness that were truly remarkable. She felt herself drawn to him more each day, yet she understood the delicate balance of their situation. Love or affection could not rush forward in a place ruled by tradition and expectation. One afternoon, the king summoned Kale to a private meeting. "Kyle," he said, "I have watched you over the past days. You have faced challenges in ways that show honor, patience, and intelligence. These qualities are exactly what a future prince consort must have. But there are still tests ahead. You must continue to prove yourself, not only to the court but to the people of Eldoria." Kyle bowed. "Your Majesty, I am ready to do whatever is necessary. I only wish to serve Princess Alina and the kingdom to the best of my ability." The king nodded. "Good. Tomorrow you will participate in a royal council meeting. You will be expected to speak on matters of trade, law, and diplomacy. Many of the nobles will doubt you, but remain calm and honest. Actions and sincerity often speak louder than titles." Kyle spent the evening preparing, studying the kingdom's laws and trade practices with the help of Alina. She patiently explained difficult concepts, often turning them into simple examples he could remember. "Think of it like your carpentry work. she said. Every decision affects the whole structure. If one piece is wrong, the building may fail. The kingdom is the same. Every choice affects many people. The next day, Kale entered the council hall with steady determination. The nobles watched him closely, some with doubt, others with curiosity. When asked about a dispute over trade routes with a neighboring village, Kale spoke clearly, offering practical solutions based on fairness and efficiency. He suggested compromises that would benefit both sides while keeping the kingdom's best interests in mind. The room was silent for a moment, then the king nodded approvingly. "Well said, Kale. Your judgment shows wisdom beyond your years." Even the most skeptical nobles began to show signs of respect. Kale's calm, honest, and thoughtful approach impressed them. He did not speak boastfully or act superior. Instead, he demonstrated that courage was not only about facing danger, but also about making wise, fair, and patient decisions. After the council meeting, Alina found Kale in the castle gardens. She smiled warmly. "You did it, Kale. You spoke with confidence and wisdom. I think the court is beginning to see what I already know." Kale laughed softly. "I hope so, Princess. I only wish to honor your trust and your father's faith in me." Their bond grew stronger with each passing day. They shared quiet walks in the gardens, discussed matters of the kingdom, and spent time learning about each other's lives. Alina realized that Kale was not only brave and intelligent, but also kind, patient, and humble. Kale, in turn, admired Alina's wisdom, courage, and dedication to her people. Together they became a team, supporting one another through challenges and learning from each other. As the days turned into weeks, the people of Eldoria began to hear stories of Kale's courage and fairness. Villagers who had come to the castle to deliver goods or seek assistance often spoke of the young carpenter who treated everyone with respect and kindness. Slowly, the court began to change its view. Some nobles, once doubtful, now nodded with approval when Kale offered advice. One evening, as the sun set over the kingdom, Alina and Kale stood on the castle balcony looking at the streets below. "Kale," Alina said softly, "you have proven yourself not only to the court but to me. I am proud to know you and grateful for everything you have done. I think the people will begin to see what is in your heart as well." Kyle looked at her, his eyes filled with quiet determination. "Princess, I will continue to do my best. I will not stop. I will prove myself every day, not for titles or approval, but because I care for you and this kingdom." Alina smiled, feeling hope and trust in her heart. The challenges were far from over, but together they had faced fear, doubt, and skepticism. Now they were ready to face whatever the future held side by side. The rescue had led to trials, and the trials had led to growth. Kale had shown that courage, honesty, and patience could win respect, even in the face of tradition. And Alina had realized that true strength was not measured by birth or wealth, but by character and heart. Their journey was far from over, but the foundation of trust, respect, and admiration had been firmly laid. The morning of the ceremony arrived with clear skies and a gentle breeze. The kingdom of Eldoria was alive with excitement. Flags fluttered along the streets, and townspeople gathered in the square, eager to witness an event unlike any they had seen before. Word had spread that the young carpenter, Kale, who had once been a stranger to the royal court, was now to become the husband of Princess Alina. Inside the castle, preparations were in full swing. Servants moved gracefully through the halls, arranging flowers, polishing chandeliers, and ensuring that every detail of the ceremony was perfect. Alina stood in her chamber, gazing at her reflection. Her dress shimmered with delicate embroidery, and her hair was braided with small pearls. Despite the grandeur, she felt a quiet calm. Kale had proven himself in ways that no one else could. His courage, wisdom, and kindness had earned the respect of the kingdom and her heart. Kale, dressed in a simple but elegant tunic chosen for him by the king, paced in his room. He felt nervous, as any man would before such an important event. Yet he also felt a deep sense of pride and purpose. He had traveled a long journey from the mountains where he rescued the princess to the castle where he had earned the trust of nobles, and now he was on the verge of a new beginning. The king entered Kale's chamber, his expression solemn but warm. "Kale," he said, "today marks not only a union between you and my daughter, but also a lesson for the kingdom. Courage, honor, and humility are more powerful than wealth or title. You have proven this to us all. I give you my blessing." Kale bowed deeply. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I will honor Princess Alina and serve this kingdom with all my heart." The ceremony began in the grand hall, filled with sunlight streaming through the tall windows. Nobles, advisors, guards, and citizens alike watched as Princess Alina walked down the aisle, her hand resting lightly on the arm of the king. Her eyes met Kale's, and in that moment all fear and uncertainty melted away. Kale stepped forward to meet her, his heart steady despite the grandeur surrounding them. He had faced mountains, fear, and doubt. This moment, though filled with expectation, felt right and certain. Alina smiled, and Kale knew that their journey together was just beginning. The officiant, a wise elder respected by both the court and the people, spoke clearly and kindly. "Today we witness not only a marriage, but also a union of courage and heart. Let all who see this remember that bravery, honesty, and kindness are the foundations of true greatness." Kyle took Alina's hands in his. "Princess Alina," he said softly, "from the moment I first met you, I vowed to protect you, to be honest with you, and to care for you always. I promise to stand by your side in joy and in challenge for as long as we live." Alina's eyes glistened with tears of happiness. "Kale," she replied, "you have shown me courage, wisdom, and kindness beyond measure. I promise to trust you, to support you, and to share my life with you. Together we will face whatever comes with hearts full of respect and love." The officiant smiled and spoke the words that would unite them. "By the power vested in me, and by the witness of this kingdom, I pronounce you husband and wife. May your union be blessed, and may your hearts remain strong and true." A cheer erupted throughout the hall. Nobles clapped, villagers in the balcony waved, and guards saluted in respect. Kale and Alina exchanged a gentle, heartfelt kiss, sealing their bond in front of the entire kingdom. After the ceremony, the celebrations moved to the castle courtyard. Tables were filled with food, music filled the air, and laughter echoed between the walls. Kale and Alina walked among the guests, speaking to the villagers, thanking the nobles, and sharing moments of joy. The people admired not only the bravery that had brought them together, but also the humility and kindness that Kale had shown throughout his trials. Some of the skeptical nobles who had doubted Kale now approached him with respect. "Kyle," one said, "you have proven yourself beyond doubt. Your courage and wisdom honor the kingdom." Kale smiled politely, bowing slightly. "Thank you. I only wish to serve and support Princess Alina and our people." Alina watched him quietly, her heart full. She realized that true greatness was not about titles, wealth, or power. It was about character, courage, and kindness. And Kale had all of these in abundance. She felt safe, respected, and loved. A feeling she had never known until he had entered her life. As evening fell, Kyle and Alina found a quiet terrace overlooking the city. The lights of Eldoria twinkled like stars on the ground below. They stood side by side, holding hands, reflecting on the journey that had brought them here. "Kyle," Alina said softly, "it feels like a dream. From the mountains to this day, everything has changed. But through it all, I have known that you are brave, honest, and true. I trust you with my life, and now with my heart." Kale squeezed her hand gently. "Princess, I will never forget the mountains, the fear, or the path that led me to you. But I will also never forget this moment, our kingdom, and the promise I have made. Together we can face anything. Together we are stronger than any challenge." The people of Eldoria, both nobles and villagers, remembered the story of the young carpenter who had saved the princess and earned a place in the royal court. His courage had inspired many, showing that true bravery and honor could come from anyone, regardless of birth or status. King Aldrich watched his daughter and her husband from the balcony, feeling pride and relief. He had feared the judgment of tradition, but Kale had proven that character mattered more than status. The kingdom was safe, the princess was happy, and the lessons of courage, honesty, and kindness were clear for all to see. As the night deepened, the castle quieted, but a warm glow remained in the hearts of all who had witnessed the day. Kale and Alina, now united in marriage, sat together in their chamber, reflecting on their journey. They had faced danger, doubt, and expectation, Yet their bond had grown stronger with each challenge. "Kyle," Alina whispered, resting her head on his shoulder. "This is only the beginning. There will be challenges ahead, but I know we can face them together." Kale kissed her forehead gently. "Yes, Princess. Together we will meet every challenge with courage, respect, and love. Our story has just begun." And so the kingdom of Eldoria celebrated not only a marriage but also the triumph of bravery, honesty, and the strength of the human heart. Kyle, the humble carpenter, and Princess Alina began their new life together, united in love, respect, and shared purpose. The story of their journey, of courage, trust, and unexpected bonds would be remembered for generations as a true testament to the power of character, the importance of kindness, and the enduring strength of the heart.